Julie, Americans famously vote with their pocketbook. The US is dealing with cost of living issues similar to the UK and other Western economies, but the economic indicators for the US are notably better. Like, they are recovering visibly faster. And yet the economy is where Biden is trailing Trump in every single opinion poll. Why is there this seeming disconnect between how people think Biden is doing and how he is actually doing?
Yeah, it's so true. And to some of what we were just saying, like some of his policies have actually been quite notable, and unemployment is at one of its lowest rates in years. And as you know, inflation is coming down and certainly looks better than it does on this side of the pond and whatnot. But the perception does matter for a lot of people, and a lot of people are still feeling that crunch of inflation. They still feel it in their pocketbooks. They still see prices going up. So even though those of us kind of comparing UK, US are like, what are they complaining about? Like, you know, someone who's just seeing prices go up still thinks, okay, this isn't good. And I think moreover, again, Trump really commanded that narrative that he ran a good economy. He has pitched himself as this businessman who knows what he's doing, that, you know, keeps taxes low, gives like tax cuts, these kinds of things. So I think a lot of Americans, that appeals to them, even those who are not MAGA and not caught up in the whole Trumpy part of Trump will vote on the economy and what they perceive to be a more capable Trump in terms of his dealing with that.
So if what we see in the figures begins to filter through to people's finances, you might see quite a quick turnaround. Is that?
I think a bit, yes. Yeah. And I imagine a lot of, like most elections, and it seems trite to say this now, but it does often come down to how the economy is doing at that time. Yeah. And I do think that will make a big difference in this election, especially in those swing states where it's a lot of states where, you know, the old industries and jobs have left. It's places where people have felt a lot of the economic crunch and kind of this globalization kind of time. So how those specific states are feeling or seeing things, I think will make a big difference.
And is it, in your experience, something on which the dice cast quite early? So we're seeing today actually a poll that has Trump ahead in 5 of the 6 battleground states. A year away from the election, is that quite solid, or has it in the past been reversed quite easily in that last year?
Oh, it's absolutely been reversed in the past. Obama, I think, was down 8 points around this time before his second election, and then obviously won that quite handily. But I guess this election, it is unlike anyone we've seen before in that we know both of these individuals and know them both as president. So there's not this sense of, oh, is there going to be something that comes out about Trump over the next while or something like that. Like it'll be almost a referendum on Trump.
Something else.
Yeah, something else. It's just, you know, we know them. We know how they govern. We know all the scandals and baggage that we assume can be like unearthed by this point. So I don't think there'll be quite as much movement as some years, but world events, country events, the economy, all that will always shift the numbers in some way.
Marie, there was a general sense in 2020 that sanity had prevailed and the Biden victory would start a sort of wave of more conventional politics, at least around the world. And what is becoming clear now is that the populist right is not a beast that we can vanquish just once. It's a sort of Mike Myers of politics. It will get up again and again.
Here I am saying Frenchly to you, really? We'd not noticed in France at all.
No, but do progressives need to change their tactics? Do we need to see more of what's happening in Poland, for example, of these coalitions of people with slightly different agendas that are saying, okay, first things first, not that?
Oh, God, I think it's a really complicated question, and I'm not sure.
That's why I asked it to you. You're very clever.
Thank you. But the problem is, I think I'm not sure I have a set answer, because I'm not sure there is a set answer. In that, you know, I think in some countries, obviously, what does work, I think, is having that quite broad electoral coalition. But then in others, again, taking the example of France, I think that, you know, doing that, we did that in France several times, of saying actually in the second round when either Le Pen, you know, father or daughter, ended up there saying, actually, you know, wherever else you stand, you know, on the kind of political spectrum, you've just got to vote for the other one. Is it really working? You know, Le Pen is still at the door now. And she's still, and then that's not really worked. And, and we've now had obviously 2 terms of Macron, and that's not really helped meaningfully. And I think she will almost certainly make the second round again this time. So I think, again, a coalition may work in some places, may not work in others.
I mean, do we mind Le Pen being runner-up forever?
Yeah, kind of.
Well, I mean, provided she never makes it to number 1.
Well, will she never make it to number
I don't
1?
know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking. I'm saying
but I'm not-
provided that it
yeah.
prevents her from getting to number 1.
Nah. I'm not.
It's quite a
convinced.
high-stakes game, isn't it?
It's also a bit like, and I feel like you don't need to be a socialist to think that, the only 2 available options being the centre-right or the hard-right are not, that's not an ideal
So
state of
great,
affairs. I
is
think
it?
that's, many people have other opinions. But yeah, and as I was saying, I think I also have some sympathy for, some of the left-wingers who say actually politics as usual is not working. What you need is a radical government, that kind of changes material conditions in a way that really matters, especially to the working class, etc. But, would that work everywhere? I'm not sure. So I think that I think that narratively speaking, it is quite easy to say, OK, populism is going up everywhere. And I think that you can probably find some reasons why it's going on in lots of different countries at the same time. So, the economy obviously having taken a massive hit around the pandemic. You've got, I think, the internet more broadly, and that's a whole different chat. But I think that's kind of changed politics in a really fundamental way on national level, kind of everywhere. But at the same time, I think how you respond to that populism changes country by country and election by election, I think. So, that's a very long way of saying it probably depends on the country and on the election and the type of populism you're fighting as well.